Hello, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Adrielle, and I am currently narrating a story of my life dating back from January 2016. In the previous episode, I talked about the month of February of how I ended that month, and in this episode, I am going to talk about the month of March 2021. So, here it goes. It's March 1st, and I'm just thinking, to myself that I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good. And not only do I want to feel good, I just want everything about my life to be brighter because I felt like January and February was just months filled with, a lot of just darkness going on. And I didn't like it. So I'm like, okay, March could be that month where everything just seems brighter, things just start picking up. I get to fully heal from my father's passing. I don't have to be consumed with what Brandon and Caitlin have going on. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking that it's March 2nd and it's the afternoon time. I remember passing by one of our living rooms, and as I'm passing by the living room, I see something on the carpet. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen. I see something on the carpet. It looks like a rainbow. And I'm like, hey, that could be God's way of communicating with me. Like, listen, what you're going through right now, you will not have to face through it again. And I'm thinking, if that is God telling me that what you're going through, you don't have to go through it again, that just lets me know that God is still with you in the midst of the darkness that was filled in January and February, that He is still with me. And y'all, I needed that. I needed that reminder that everything's going to be okay eventually. So I see that rainbow, I take a picture, and I'm like, okay, God, you're talking to me. You're talking to me. I'm not alone in this. You got me. I don't understand why I'm going through this. I know I'm in the wilderness, but why does it have to be this intense? Right? So that happened. Fast forward to March 7th, I flew back to Atlanta. Flew back to Atlanta, and in my mind, I'm like, ah, I don't know how I'm gonna feel, being in an apartment by myself. Spent good quality time at home. Now I gotta face reality of finding a job, finding an income, even if it's not a job. I just gotta find something to bring in money. Um, I need to heal from my father's passing. Yeah. So I arrive in Atlanta. Esther picks me up. We go to her apartment and I tell her, like, hey, Esther, can I spend the night? Because, y'all, I was still nervous to stay in my apartment by myself. So I spent the night. We all had fun. We talked. Yeah, we talked. We had fun. The next day, which was March 8th, I went back home. I went back home. I'm like, sheesh, I haven't been here in almost 2 months. So I get back home. I unpack. Yes, y'all, I am one of those people that unpacks the day they arrive back home. I unpack, and I remember getting a text from Ruth. She was, letting me know that she wanted to stop by and see me. Also, too, like, y'all, Ruth was so amazing to me during this time. Like, she was someone who was calling me every Monday to check on me. And I told her, I'm like, hey, Ruth, you don't have to do that. I know you're so super busy with school. You have so many exams and quizzes during the week. She was like, no, Adria, like, I really want to check on you. I really want to see how you're doing. So, yeah, Ruth called me every Monday when I was at home. Like, she really was there for me. And also Esther, like, she popped in sometimes and with the text or with the call. She helped warm up my car when I was away as well. So Esther and Ruth, y'all, they were really in my corner during this time. And y'all, I'm so thankful for them. to this day, and I was thankful back then too as well. So this day on March 8th, Ruth texted me that she wanted to come over. I'm like, sure, you can come over. She was gonna come over like sometime in the afternoon, like around 5. So I'm in my apartment, y'all, and Ruth comes in probably like around 5. I open the door for her. We're talking. I get a knock on the door, probably like 15 minutes into her being in my apartment. I get a knock on my door. And I'm just like, ooh. Now, here's the thing. I was wearing some type of sweatpants that had some type of hole in it, and I didn't want the person to see me. I didn't want the person to see me like that. So I said, Ruth, listen, that could be anybody. Let me go and change my sweatpants, and please open the door or please attend to the person at the door. So as I'm going to change, Ruth is saying, "Who's at the door? Like who is it?" and stuff like that. And this person is saying something. So when I'm done, Ruth comes back to me and says, "Hey, it's your neighbor." Like, my neighbor. So I go to the front of the door. I'm looking through the peephole. Now, here's the thing with my peephole. My peephole had a little smudge of paint, so I couldn't fully see the person. But based off what I can see, from the peephole, it was a woman who was light skinned. So I'm looking at her, I'm like, oh, this is not my neighbor. Because my neighbor across from me, it was two girls. They lived in that apartment, and both of them were dark skinned. I was like, who is this lady? So I'm like, who is it? She was like, it's your neighbor. And I said, oh, I'm like, what do you want? Did I say, what do you want? I'm like, oh, how can I help you? And then she said, "Oh, I just want to apologize for the noise yesterday." And I'm like, no, ma'am, I wasn't in my apartment. I think you got the wrong place." She's like, "I just want to apologize for the noise yesterday." And I'm like, "Man," so in my mind, I'm thinking she's probably thinking I reported her to the leasing office. Now, mind you, I was at Esther's apartment, so I didn't even know what noise she was talking about. And I said, "Hey, ma'am, you're fine. I wasn't in my apartment yesterday." And now she was like, "Oh, okay." And she's standing at my door, and I think she's like waiting for me to open up the door. I'm like, "I'm not opening up the door for you. I don't know you. You're saying you're my neighbor. You're not the person who lives across from me." So after a couple seconds, she leaves. And in my head, I'm like, who was that? So I head back to the couch, and Ruth was like, "Who was that?" She kept on saying she was your neighbor. And I'm like, "I don't know who she is. That she doesn't live across from me, because it's two girls that live across from me, and they're dark skinned. That lady's light skinned. I don't know her." So we were talking about some other stuff. That's when it hit me. I said, "Oh, okay. I think I know who she is." Okay. So, y'all, let me quickly explain this. So I lived in apartment 16, right? My neighbors, the people who I consider my neighbors that lived across from me, the two girls, that was apartment 17. The lady who said that she was my neighbor at the door, she lived in apartment 14. Now, here's the thing with apartment 14. Apartment 14 is on the other side. So when you come into my floor, right? There's about, I want to say, 7 apartments. So apartment 1 to apartment like 7. Okay. So you're at the door, at the floor, you're walking all the way past apartment 7. Once you get to apartment 7, there's an intersection, right? There's an intersection. If you keep walking, the first intersection after you keep walking is my apartment, which is apartment 16. Now, if a person decides to turn at the intersection, the first apartment on the right is apartment 14. That was the apartment that the lady was living in. So, apartment 14, in my apartment, we both shared walls. So, my bedroom wall was connected to this lady's bedroom wall. Now, here's the thing about this lady. I knew that her and her boyfriend, at this time I thought this guy was her boyfriend, her and her boyfriend were living in that apartment. Now, for the sake of the story, we're going to call these characters Lisa and Sam. So Lisa and Sam, they both lived in apartment 14 and their bedroom was connected to my bedroom. So a lot of the stuff that they do, I can hear, going on. So there are times where they blast music or whatever. Now, something that I noticed when I first moved, probably like my second or third weekish that I moved, I remember sitting at my table in my room, and I keep hearing someone say the B word. And it's a woman's voice that just keeps saying the B word repeatedly. So in my head, during this time, this was like my first month in the apartment. I remember like, oh, whoever is living in the apartment, they're probably getting into an argument because this lady just kept calling this person the B word, right? And there were times where the person under me would, fight as well with whoever they were with. So in that moment on my couch, I was like, oh, I know who that lady is. Now, that was my first time seeing her. I had never seen her before. I just know that there's a couple that lives in an apartment that's connected to my bedroom. So, like I said, for the sake of the story, y'all, we're going to call this couple Lisa and Sam. They are my neighbors in apartment 14. Throughout the month of March, I am going to be talking about Lisa and Sam and some of the stuff I dealt with as being their neighbor. So, yeah. So, me and Ruth were in the apartment just talking, and eventually she leaves, right? It's March 12th. It's March 12th. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm applying to jobs. I'm not hearing back. I just don't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, since I have this desire to be a data scientist, maybe I should take some data scientist boot camp courses or something on Coursera because I've been out of school for the past almost 2 years at that point. Everything I learned at GSU is like fading away. So I said, okay, God, if you want me to do this, send me a sign. Send me a sign. So I got the sign that I had. So I said, you know what? I'm going to enroll into data science courses with Coursera. And yeah, so that was exactly what I did March 12th. And I had to pay, I think, like $40 a month for that. Now, at this time, I was still getting the PUA, still getting the unemployment. So that was good as well. Now, let me get into my neighbors. Oh my goodness, these were neighbors from hell. Like, honestly, y'all, they were terrible. At this point, y'all, there'll be times I'll wake up in the morning and I would hear Lisa say, Sam, you're a bum. You're a bum. You're a bum. What? You're a bum. No, don't talk to me. You're a bum. Shut up. Now, mind you, this is early in the morning, like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just like, what is going on? I don't know. Like, Lisa would just wake up and start yelling at Sam. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, what is going on? So as Lisa would yell at Sam, Sam won't say anything. He would be so quiet. It will get to a point, like probably after 30 minutes into her yelling, he would say, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And I noticed with Sam was like, he kind of just let Lisa kind of like walk all over him. So this was something that would happen like almost in the beginning, it would happen like once a week, right? It graduated to 2 times in a week. There would be times where y'all Lisa would just be slamming the door and she would just be yelling and she would call, oh my goodness, she would call him the B word. She would call him, she would always call him a bum. That I remember. She would always call him a bum. And she was like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Huh? Huh? What you gonna do? You gonna do like she was so aggressive, and I can tell that she was the aggressor, right? Now, mind you, I don't know why they're fighting. So I'm not trying to cape for Sam because it's possible for Sam to have done some stuff, but whatever he did, y'all, it was making her go crazy. And at this point, I'm just like, I can't take it. Like, this is just too much. It got to a point where it went from 2 times a week to every other day, y'all. Like, it's as if she just chose violence every single thing. And to be honest, I felt like she didn't even like him because she just seemed to pick every little thing to fight about. There was one day she was, oh my goodness, y'all. There was one day she was like, go back to your country, go back to your country. Now, here's the thing, I knew Sam was African just by the way he was talking. I knew he was African, right? So she just kept on saying, go back to your country. This is not your country. This is my country. Go back to your country. Go back to your country. And I'm like, what is up with her? She would just start yelling and screaming. I remember, y'all, it was Palm Sunday, March 25th, y'all. I remember Sam was talking at the balcony. He was on the phone and he was talking in his language. And it's so funny because he was actually Nigerian. So I overheard his conversation. So he was talking, and the next thing you know, I don't know if she was pissed that he was talking on the phone. She just started yelling, everybody, Sam is a bum. Sam's mom still gives him money. Shut up, you're a bum. Shut up. Like she would just yell. And I'm just like, yo, this woman is a disgrace. She is a disgrace. Now, mind you, like I said, Sam wouldn't say anything until like towards the end where he'd be like, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. But it got to a point where I'm saying to myself, like, this girl is very crazy. The reason why she's chaotic is because she has a chaotic spirit, y'all. Anyone who always yells for everything is that's not someone who wants peace. Because, like I said, y'all, I don't know what Sam is doing to her. I'm not saying that Sam is innocent. If she really cared about Sam, she would try to resolve the issues with Sam. She wouldn't go off the way she's going off. The reason why she's going off that way is because she has a chaotic spirit. She is choosing to be violent. There were times where she'd be like, hit me. I bet you're not going to do nothing. The next thing you know, I heard a big slam. And she said, why would you do that? Why did you? And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, yo, if this continues, I am not going to renew my lease. I am not going to renew my lease at all. She's very violent. There were times, y'all, I went to bed afraid because I'm thinking, him not saying anything, of course, he's bottling a lot of stuff in. What if he snaps? What if he gets a gun and he starts shooting and one of the bullets, goes through the wall? Like, I can't have that. So now at this point, I'm very nervous, very afraid to just be in my apartment. There were times where I would just stay in the living room. There were times where she wouldn't even yell at him. She would just be slamming doors, slamming cabinets, just slamming so many stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't, I just, I can't do it. I can't do it. So y'all, that was my, that was my, Sam and Lisa story in the month of March. It continued in April, y'all. These people were very toxic, very chaotic. I remember telling myself too that, man, I wish I knew these people's Instagram. I wish I knew their Instagram because I'm very sure they are on Instagram, right? Portraying to be this lovey-dovey couple that loves each other, not knowing that they actually hate each other in real life and they scream at each other, right? Yeah, so I would always just think about, man, I wish I knew their Instagram because I know they're faking it for the gram and everything. So yeah, that was my situation with Lisa and Sam in the month of March. What were the other things going on? I was still taking the courses on Coursera. I did apply for a data engineer position, y'all. I had no business applying for that position, but I didn't care. I did that. I made it to the next round. Eventually, they denied me. Right, I got denied, and that was with London. Yeah, so I got denied the data engineer position with London. At this time, I'm actually speaking to Melissa. She called too as well when I was at home just to check on me. We're calling each other too as well in Atlanta, and she was advising me to look into consulting roles, if anything. So yeah, that was pretty much what happened in the month of March. Now, I would say, as far as my healing journey was concerned, it took a turn. It took a turn. I remember just feeling this amount of peace while I was at my apartment. Now, mind you, I was afraid to be in my apartment by myself, but I remember just feeling this type of peace of everything's going to be okay. My dad, he's with the Lord and everything is going to be okay. I was just feeling this amount of peace. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so what God is doing in this situation is just giving me peace about it. Even got to a point where I started to feel sorry for the person who unalived my father. Like, my dad's in heaven. I don't know what's gonna happen to you when it's your time to leave this earth, right? So yeah, God just like basically overwhelmed me with this amount of peace, and I was very thankful, y'all, because I needed it. I needed it for my situation concerning my father. Also, I would say with Brandon too as well. He did give me peace about that. But there were parts of me, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. There were parts of me thinking in my head that, I believe Brandon is my spouse. That is who God wants me to be with. But if we get together, I do not want to be a second option. I do not want us to get together because things didn't work out with between him and Caitlin. So it's like, okay, let me run to Adriel. No, I am no one's second option. I'm no one's leftovers. I don't. So thoughts of me being a second option, it was running through my mind because, y'all, like I said, when I looked at that reconnection post, Brandon was bragging about how much he loved Caitlyn. So if she breaks his heart and he comes to me, I don't want him to. I don't want him to see me as someone like a placeholder or a replacement. No, I'm not that. I'm not that. So thoughts of that was, going through my head at the time. And yeah, so that was what happened in the month of March, y'all. In the month of April, um, I'll talk about that in the next episode. So if you are liking an unlikely story, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.